and bright day, highs of 18 Celsius. LBC 97.3, Ask Boris is next.
LBC 97.3. This is Ask Boris. Mayor of London Boris Johnson takes your calls with Nick Ferrari at breakfast. Call 0845 6060 973. Text 84850. Tweet at LBC 973. Ask Boris on London's biggest conversation. LBC 97.3.
Hey everybody, it's 9 o'clock on Wednesday, the 2nd of October. This is Boris Johnson bringing you the latest edition of Ask Boris on the station of the year, LBC 97.3. Ask Boris. What is Ask Boris? I'm here to tell you it's about you asking me about anything that's going on in London. And of course, you putting your ideas to me and my very intelligent sidekick here, Mr. Nick Ferrari, who is looking white as a tree full of owls, and who's going to be helping us through this show. Don't forget to call in on 0845 6060 973 or email boris@lbc.co.uk. And we're going to go first of all to our first caller, who is Milam in South Norwood. Can you hear us, Milam?
Hello there. Hello, Boris.
Good morning,
Hello,
Milam.
Nick.
How are you?
Morning.
Very well, thank you. Very well. My question is, Boris, regarding the face veil.
Sorry, the base sale.
Face veil, Mr. Mayor.
Oh, the face veil.
On you
Sorry.
go, Milan.
The booker.
The booker, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, yeah. As parents, Boris, we are expected in society to teach our children to respect one another,
Yeah.
to respect schools, and so on.
Yeah, sure.
On the other hand, Boris, you are asking us to go against school policies or school rules if it involves wearing the face veil. Can you comment on that, please?
Yeah, sure. Of course. Yeah, of course. Mina. I mean, I think this is a very difficult thing, and normally I'm in favour of liberty and people wearing, whatever they want. If a school wants to set a particular dress code, that is fine. Where I do draw the line, and be absolutely clear with you, Milam, I think that the face veil is a very difficult thing to make work in a school, just because I think that you've got to teach in a way that you can see how the kids are responding. They've got to be able to participate in the class. I think that it's only fair that they should be able to react and take part in that way. And I don't think that it can reasonably be called a standard piece of uniform to get little girls to cover their faces. So I'm afraid I don't know. I don't know what exactly your position is on this, Milan, but that's my view.
I mean, I myself with a burqa. My daughter is 15. From the age of I think it must have been about 12 or maybe 13. Yeah. She decided from herself, her own free will, that she'd like to do it. I did say to my daughter that if you want to go to a non-Islamic school, you will not be able to wear it. So I suggest you really think about it. She decided to go to
That's
an
very
Islamic
interesting.
school.
That's very interesting.
And to be honest with you, Boris, she feels quite comfortable with it on.
Yeah.
She does it because she understands the concept behind why she does it. It's a big thing to do, Boris. I myself studied it for many years, tried to understand it, debated it whether it was right.
You don't wear one yourself, though, Milan?
I do.
Oh, you do?
I
Right,
do.
yeah, okay.
Only for since last probably 5-6 years I've started doing it.
Can I ask you what I mean? It does interest me, this, because it's obviously a very difficult and personal issue.
Absolutely.
I mean, I've said what I've said, and I'm afraid that is my view. I think in places of instruction where you're asking kids to participate in a class, to have fun together, when the teacher has got to see how the lesson is going down. I mean, I've been a teacher very ingloriously in the past. It is a terribly difficult job, and you've got to know how your pupils are responding. And I think that is what I would like to see in classes financed by the British state. That's what I believe.
Just an observation from me, Milam. Lastly, you mentioned your daughter is 15. I sense from your voice you're going to be in possibly your late 20s, early 30s, somewhere around about that. That's fine.
God, I wish.
What the mayor... Okay, well...
Late 40s, oh my goodness.
Okay, what the mayor was talking about, girls aged 11, isn't that the key, Milam? That a girl of 11, she's not a girl of 15 like your daughter, she's not a young woman such as yourself in your 40s. I think that was the point the mayor was making. A quick observation from from you on that, Meal, and then we must move on. That's the key, the 11-year-old.
If we're going to, yeah, absolutely. Now, when we send our children to a private school, these schools cost a lot of money.
Yeah.
And if we choose to do that, then it's our responsibilities as parents to make sure that our children are comfortable wearing the veil.
Okay.
It's not an easy thing to do. They have to do it from the heart.
They do indeed. The 11-year-old, that was the key you were making, Mr. Mayor.
I'm grateful to you. I mean, I think this one will run and run, Milam. It's a very interesting problem. I think I'm pretty clear where I'm coming from on this. I want to see openness in the classroom. I think it's very, very important. And but obviously I respect people's decision and the choices that they make elsewhere. I think with great respect now we're going to go to Mike in Cheshire. Mike, are you there?
Yes, good morning, Mr. Johnson.
Good morning,
Nick.
Good morning.
Hello.
As you know, HS2 is now a very controversial issue, but also controversial, Boris, is the choice of Euston as the terminus. Because,
come on. Okay, this is interesting.
Yes, because it will mean the destruction of over 400 homes and years of disruption whilst new platforms are added.
Yeah.
And, of course, there will be environmental damage in Camden, so there is a lot against
Which is why Labour has been sort of, flobbing around about this, because they're very strong, as you know, in that area, and you've got some real Labour argy-bargy going on about that.
Well, would you consider, for example, an alternative?
Yeah.
Because we will need to increase capacity on our railways over the coming years.
You're right.
London stations are now at capacity, so London will need a new station.
What is your alternative?
Mike? I think Mike is on to something very important.
Right.
And what's your
right?
Let me give you. Go on, Mike. Give your alternative, then I'll give mine.
Okay. The alternative is to take the new railway to the £1 billion Crossrail station at Tottenham Court Road. Now, Boris, this is 4 stories below ground.
Yeah.
It won't upset anybody, businesses or people living round and about. It's in the heart of London. Crossrail, as you know, will offer frequent 28-minute services to Heathrow, as well as to Paddington, Liverpool Street, etc. This seems to me to be the least damaging option and a very efficient way of handling people.
Well, Mike, I mean that is a very interesting idea, and of course, what the another merit of your idea, if I may just suggest one extra point you might want to add, is that in coming into Tottenham Court Road, you would also be arriving at the junction between Crossrail 1 and Crossrail 2, so you'd turn that into an enormous transport hub, and that'd be a very interesting approach. I think that the difficulty with that is just going to be the sheer weight of numbers arriving in that area, the difficulty of making Tottenham Court Road cope with that, and secondly, the extra pressure you'd be putting on Crossrail, because Crossrail, we think, will be full as soon as it opens in 2018. And the argument that we're making to David Higgins, Sir David, who's just taken over now at a Network Rail, is you can't just arrive at Old Oak Common and stop. You've got to have some very clever plan for Euston, and you certainly. I think the point you're making, Mike, about the damage and the aggravation, the long disturbances that will happen in Euston is very valid. I think there is a case. I mean, this is something that is obviously a very expensive option. But in an ideal world, what you would do is you'd come into Old Oak Common, and then you would bomb out along the basically east-west along the Marylebone Euston Road. You'd have an underground connection at Euston, and then you'd go straight out to Stratford. And so you'd have an HS1. So you would fulfil the promise to the north of the country,
right?
That you were actually.
How much would that cost?
That would be. I mean, there's no question that would be probably prohibitively expensive. But that would at least sort out the problem. And you'd be fulfilling the promise to the north of the country that they could get on a train in Manchester and basically go all the way to France. I mean, which was what was how it was originally sold. The reality is there's no real market, I'm afraid, for that. And probably, as you rightly indicate, Nick, there's that solution that I've indicated, which Doug Oakerby used to canvass when he was chairman of HS2, is probably just going to fail on the cost ground. But you do need something to sort out Euston, and that is where Mike is completely right. And that's what we're working on right now. With,
Mike, thank you. We must get some more
with
callers
Sir David and HS2.
Absolutely.
Can we go now to Nick in Battersea? There's not which Nick is that?
That would be me.
Nick, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
Good.
I initially had two questions, but I'm actually going to say something else. It's regarding
Three
mental
questions.
disability,
Right.
and the care that the government has for mental disability, which is sorely lacking, especially for adults who suffer from mental disabilities. I care for a really close friend of mine.
It's Nick Ferrari talking now. We have to stay with matters that relate specifically to
it's
the
very
mayor,
interesting because I got off the train at Euston last night from Manchester. And the first person who came up to me was somebody who was saying exactly this kind of thing about the lack of care for.
But how can you influence it?
I said to her, Ruth Carnell, who is my health services advisor, I'll take it up with her and see what we can.
Okay, I mean, Nick, what is your question? But it's a little unfair because he's boxed in a corner. There's not a lot he can do.
Well, let's hear the case.
Well, I mean, the thing is that in all appearance and everything, my mate, he looks absolutely fine. But then the thing is that there is just no help. There's no help from the council. There's no help from external contractors. And he just feels really, really stuck. And if it was not for me, he would not be able to eat. He would not have a clean house.
So what do you need, Nick? Do you need financial support? Is that what you're saying?
No, I need to make sure that if I am not around, that there will be some support. But there just isn't any support.
Right. Well, look, what the best thing I can do is really to do what I said last night to the other person who buttonholed me. If we will take your details. We will get my health advisor to see what we can do to find out what's going on in your case, and if there's more that we can do, we certainly shall.
All right, Nick, thank you for that. We move on.
Thanks. Can we go to Paul in Hendon, please? We're already cracking through the questions this morning. Yeah. Paul, how are you?
Good morning, Mr. Mayor.
Very good.
What I want to know, the area where I live is surrounded by major roads, which are used as major through routes to loads of areas where you have to take these big roads.
Yes.
They're all single lanes with a bus lane at the side of them.
Right.
Because it's a single lane and there's such major roads, there's major traffic at all hours of the day, morning, middle of the day, afternoon, evenings. Why can't all these major places put the bus lanes only being used like at very, very busy times? Most of the day, the bus lane isn't in use. There's like one bus every half an hour. It's such a waste. It could solve so much traffic at all the areas.
Let me have a look at that, Paul, because I think there are some parts of London where you can drive in the bus lanes in off-peak times of day, and maybe that's something that should be applied to your neck of the woods. We will examine it. TfL will spring into action in there with their usual, coiled mamba-like efficiency, and we will discover if we can be of any assistance to you. I'm generally in favour, as you remember, of trying to smooth traffic flow by being generous with bus lanes. So if we can do that, we certainly shall.
I wonder if I could just put a question in there, because I feel you've had a good long run. Mr. Mayor, are you canophobic?
Canophobic.
Canophobic is fear of something new.
Kinophobic.
Or kinophobic.
Kinophobic. Yeah,
because it seems you continually are asked what you're going to do by all sorts of people, and you just won't say what it is. So you are a kinophobe.
No, I'm not a kinophobe.
So what will you be doing when you?
I always like like the ancient Athenians. I always
when you cease to be mayor. What are you going to do?
I'm going to. Well, I've told you before. You always get the world exclusive. I told you before I was going to take up romantic novels under the pseudonym Rosie M. Banks.
Yes.
And try and survive by producing airport bonkbusters with glossy embossed covers with orchids and that sort of thing and stamens.
That won't keep you going.
No, probably not. But there you go.
So you're not going to become an MP as well, as David Cameron was talking about yesterday.
Well, it's very kind of the Prime Minister to say what he said, and obviously I want to be as supportive as I can, but I've got a very big job to do, and that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
And I think I said that yesterday to the point of absolute.
Yes, I know. So that's why I'm trying to
narcosis.
Yeah.
But that's sometimes people. I'm a conservative. If the answer is to keep repeating the same answer, indeed, keep repeating the same jokes. Is my approach.
Do you try business? Does that hold an allure?
I've got a huge amount of respect for people who start their own business, and I did once try. I want you to know, Nick, I've had I once with a couple of friends tried to have a tile business, and we designed these splashback tiles for your kitchen. It was beautiful with strawberries and whatnot on them, and it was a total. And we got a factory, and I put some money into it. It was just completely chaotic. And
how much did you lose?
I can't. Can't talk about it. The memory is too horrific. Anyway, we lasted about a very brief time. I mean,
right.
It was a night on the tiles, so to speak. And so it wasn't. But
yeah,
there is certainly part of me that has huge. I mean, deep down, I greatly admire those businesses in London. I always talk about when I talk about the things we export around the world, the incredible achievements of London business people. For me, is an amazingly attractive way of doing something very creative. Very honourable and producing employment. So
look at the position you.
It is very difficult. It is very difficult to do. And I have people like James Dyson. These are geniuses. These people, absolute geniuses.
But you could work alongside a genius. There's always room for a Herbert alongside a genius, Mr. Mayor.
I mean, I could be the sort. Well, I could have a go at that. Yeah.
So a business possibility.
Yeah. Are you suggesting we form a partnership?
No. I'm the Herbert too. We'd need two geniuses.
I think we need to find the genius.
But you could be the Herbert alongside the genius.
We could be a couple of Herberts. We need to find the genius.
And
who is it? Maybe it's John in Tufnell Park.
Maybe it's John in Tufnell Park
who's got an idea. John.
Hi. Good morning, Boris.
Good morning, sir.
Morning, Nick.
Hello, sir.
Right, that old chestnut parking again.
Yeah.
I deal with parking tickets for companies. Been doing this for 10 years.
Yeah.
Okay. Near enough 12,000 tickets, 99% success rate. And my point is this. The CEOs are not trained properly. All the exemptions to parking are contained in the traffic management orders. They're not taught how to apply the exemptions correctly. Not only that, I've got one council I've been appealing against one particular place where they're enforcing a sign which only the police can enforce.
Right.
Put the full case. And I bet you their little smart car is still sitting there now getting vehicles. Right. Now, in the short time you've got left, why would you not set up a... we've just had the Parliamentary Select Committee whitewash on parking.
Yeah.
It is a whitewash because all the questions they asked are mostly nonsense.
Right.
Why don't you set up an inquiry into how the London councils are involved in training the CEOs
of
exemptions and common sense.
These are the CEOs of the councils. Are you talking about? Which CEOs?
Well, they're employed by private companies. Okay, we know who the private companies are. They're not trained properly. The local authorities don't get to grips with the poor quality of training. These guys are called officers. Now, if someone's going to be called an officer, then you expect them to know what they're talking about.
So what directly you want to hear from the mayor?
Well, hang on. This is fascinating because so John, if I understand you correctly, you are a guy who gets people off parking tickets. Is that what you do?
Yeah, companies.
You get companies
where they're not. Yeah.
You get
black cab drivers, scaffolding companies.
Right. So you're a professional. You're a professional parking ticket getter offer.
Yes.
Right. Well, that's a very
consultant.
Consultant. Right. Consult. Yeah. Okay. And is that a lucrative business?
Well, it's okay. It depends how much work I have. I'm not
I've got
to go into that side.
No. Okay. I'm with you. I'm just interested.
Have you had a ticket then, Mr. Mayor?
Well, we've all had tickets.
When did you last have your ticket? When did you last have a ticket?
I can't remember.
Quite recent, isn't it?
I shuddered.
It's quite recent, isn't it?
I think that was. Yeah, that's right. There was a terrible time when my Islington removed my car with their usual Islington removed
gusto.
The usual gusto took it away to a place of execution. That's absolutely true. Yeah. But hang on, I want to sort of focus on John on what I can do to help you and what you're actually
doing.
Help
me? It's not me. It's not me, Boris. It's these companies I deal with.
Yeah, these are companies that are seeking your help in getting
national carriers.
Yeah, national carriers. Go on.
Yeah.
And so what do you want the mayor to do, John? I've tuned out of this briefly.
This is very interesting. You've got to focus on this.
I know exactly what this gentleman does. There are quite a few people out there. Yeah. If you've erroneously believe you've got a ticket, you go to someone such as John, and he takes your case on, and hopefully he gets you off, if of course, as long as you're not committing a crime, 30, 40, 80, 120 pounds. What I can't work out is what do you want from the mayor?
He wants the executives of the companies to be better trained in handling this matter. I think that's what you said.
What I want initially is an inquiry.
An inquiry?
Oh, my God.
Into what?
A proper inquiry into how the local authorities are involved in the proper training of the CEOs.
The CEOs of what? Sorry, that's the thing I don't understand.
And also...
The chief execs of which companies? Chief execs of which companies that you want inquired into?
No, civil enforcement.
Oh, the civil enforcement. I think
let's call them parking attendants.
You want to know the training of parking wardens, right?
Right, I was totally baffled because when you kept saying CEOs,
you
I
led
thought
me down that road.
the chief executive officers of the companies. But you're talking about the parking attendants. Is that's what you're talking about?
Yes.
Okay.
Civil enforcement officers. Chief executive officers.
Right. Okay. the civil enforcement. Okay. Come on. So what do we do?
No, he wants to know. He wants proper training. We're not going back to it. We know what the question is. What about proper training of parking wardens? What are you going to do about that?
Well, obviously, parking wardens are a matter for local councils. I will look into if the parking warden. Now, forgive me, Paul, John, for being slow on the uptake about who the CEOs you're talking about. We will try to talk to TfL about our roads unit. We'll talk to the boroughs about their training for traffic enforcement officers for civil enforcement officers, and we'll do our best to help you. But all right, good luck to you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Getting people off parking tickets, which is a noble cause.
What, getting people off parking tickets?
Well, yeah, help it. Of course it is. Tanya in Ripley, please.
Okay, Tanya, go ahead.
Hi, good morning, Mr. Mayor. I would like to know if you are truly concerned about congestion and air pollution in London. A, why are you reinstating the congestion charge for hybrid cars? And B, why don't you consider charging private residents within the congestion charge area a greater daily rate to discourage them from getting in their cars for short journeys, clogging up the centre of London, and using the excellent public transport system that you have there?
Well, as you know, Tanya, we have put up the congestion charge by a bit, and that obviously can fall quite heavily on people who have to drive into the centre of town, and it is important to be sparing of people's pockets in a difficult time. On the congestion charge for hybrid cars, that was a hard decision to take, but where we're going now is in the direction of a ultra-low emission zone, which we'll have in by 2020, and which will mean that new vehicles will actually have to be zero tailpipe emission. The trouble with hybrid cars is they very often are pretty carbon inefficient. They often produce actually quite a lot of CO2 in spite of having an electric motor as well.
All right, Tanya, thank you for that. I'm going to do some emails and texts and tweets that are coming in, Mr. Mayor, if I may, because I have to give them representation. Simon in Blackheath, don't you think you should know the price of a pint of milk? This refers, of course, to a couple of days ago with Jeremy Paxton.
Well, Simon in Blackheath, all right, I should know the beers. Okay, hey, by the way, what's the price? Because I know what is the price?
I had a conversation with them.
What is
the
the
bread
price?
maker, by the way? I had a conversation with the Prime Minister about this.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Have you got a bread maker?
A bread maker. Yeah, Tesco. They're brilliant.
Do they make bread makers, Mr. Mayor?
No, they sell bread. That's
I see. Do you have a bread maker?
I don't have a bread maker. I'm ashamed to say no.
Well, where'd you buy your bread?
Well, any old place, really.
What is the price of that value loaf again?
Oh, God, this is all 49p. Hang on, 49p.
47.
Okay, 47p. Okay, well,
oh, here we go.
Okay, what's the price of a tin of beans?
Tin of baked beans. You'll get a multi-pack for about £2.15 for a pack of 4.
Okay, what's the price? £2, yeah.
For a pack of 4.
Pack of 4. Yeah, probably. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, okay. What's the price?
I didn't know it was
What's the price of a?
Can I have one?
A dozen eggs.
Dozen eggs. Sainsbury's value eggs, £1, probably about £1.35, £1.56. You can go to £1.65.
Okay.
Can I have one of you?
What's the price of a pint of beer? Come on.
£3.85 for a pint of London Pride at the nearest Fuller's pub. Well done, congratulations. What's the price of a bread maker?
A bread maker?
Panasonic, the finest of the range at John Lewis.
Foggiest idea. I don't make my own bread. I buy bread. A vast expense, and can't remember what it's called and who makes it, and frankly don't care. But Simon, where has he gone?
That's a text. Yeah.
Twext.
That's a text. Right, here's another one. This comes... now, like this is Emma in Highbury. Have you ever taken a selfie not the sort that got a colleague of yours, Richard Barnes, in trouble. Now, this is the former deputy.
No.
You've never taken a selfie?
Well, no, because yes, but what happens is I meet people in the street who want to do photographs. I have to do that a lot.
Yeah, but so you take selfies just of yourself?
No.
Why don't you do one now?
Well, why should I?
It'd be rather nice to see you, obviously, in the background. Now, a question from me before we go back to more calls.
I'll take a photograph of you.
If you so desire. How's the cable car going?
The cable car, as I never tire of telling you. Is this a question from a listener?
No, it's a question from me.
Yeah, exactly. Your
I can see it every morning when I get up.
Grinding obsession. Well, of course, it's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful structure. Absolutely beautiful structure. Wilkinson and Air Architects, Pritzker prize-winning architects.
Let's talk about those numbers. Any idea how? Yeah.
Yeah, and the cable car has, I think, had... It's on target in terms of its...
September 2012, 47,064 people, week ending September 21. Now, 25,000, so almost half the number of people.
Well, that's because you're comparing...
It's failing, isn't it?
Nonsense. Honestly, it's really just... I mean, I like this argument because it's just such nonsense. Look at what is happening in the Royal Albert Docks. Look at how much money is coming into that area, which was completely neglected for decades. A great big flat expanse of nothing. And we had the guts to put in a cable car, which is a beautiful structure at very little cost. Very little cost to the taxpayer.
No.
You've now got £6 billion worth of Chinese investment.
I like the fact you say £24 million is very little cost.
That's
£60 million for the project. Emirates sponsorship over 10 years equals 36. £24 million, Mr. Mayor, is a lot of money.
But
maybe not in bread makers, but it is a lot of money.
No, I don't want you keep hanging this bread maker thing on me. I mean,
you raised it.
You raised it. It's complete.
Do go on.
The cable car is unlike any of the Emirates airline.
Yep.
To give it its proper name, the Emirates airline is unlike any other piece of transport infrastructure.
You got that right. No one uses it
in this city, in that it will cover both its capital costs and its revenue costs within the next 6 years. It is that is an amazing fact, and I don't hear that much on the BBC. I don't hear people supporting a decision to take a punt, go for something that would actually bring jobs and bring revenue to the area, and that is what is happening. You've not only got the Siemens Pavilion, you've got the Asian Business Park coming, ABP coming in, with a scheme that will eventually produce about 20,000 jobs. And that's because they look at that part of London, they say they care about this, they're putting in transport infrastructure, and actually it's a piece of transport infrastructure that's going to pay for itself. So put that in your pipe.
Put that in your bread maker and churn it.
Put that in your bread maker.
Switch it on. Yes.
Joey in Camden.
Yes, hello. I wanted to know what you're doing to help young people get on the property ladder in London and to curtail greedy property developers and landowners so that they are not making vast properties. All you look around in London, the inner city, I mean, the flats there are starting at 2.5 million and they're all being sold abroad to people who have nothing to do with London.
Yeah.
What are you actually doing to help young people? I know David Cameron has mentioned this 600,000, but that is totally unrealistic for most young people.
600,000, no, sure, no. Well, if you look at what, I mean, Joe, this is, as I said in my speech yesterday, this is the number one issue for our city.
It is the number one issue.
And I'll tell you what, just in the last few years, we've helped 50,000 people onto the property ladder, which is what you're talking about. What you're talking about is people getting a share in equity in housing. And you're completely right in that it is wrong that the greatest capital city in the world should houses or homes in that city should only be available to tycoons and oligarchs from around the planet. That is not the right
way forward. Why is that?
So because of the great attractiveness of living in London. You know, we live in unfortunately we live in a free market.
It's unfair to the British people.
Yeah, and
and you support Britain, don't you? And so does David Cameron.
Yes, and
so it's about time we did something about it.
Yes, and what we're doing is we're building tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, of new homes, and
hundreds of thousands.
We are going to need we're going to need 400,000 new homes by in the next 10 years. And
affordable.
Well, you talk about helping people onto the property ladder. Are you talking about rented homes, or are you talking about helping people to buy their home?
Both, and to control the rents. If you can't afford to buy, you have to control the rents.
Well, what I certainly think, as I said yesterday, is you need to build many more homes for rent, for social rent, for part by part rent, and indeed for private rent. And one thing that I think you could do is you could give people who want to. I think the younger generation aren't like in my generation. Next generation, we could buy a property in London. That has now moved out of sight, as Joey, as you rightly say. Many people are renting now. You could help them by giving a tax-free status to a loan that their company could make for the deposit, for their rental deposit. I think that would be a good way forward. And generally, what you've got to do is you've got to make more land available for development. But can I make a point, Jay? Because you're sort of getting into a slightly kind of anti-foreigner streak in what you were saying. Why do we need these foreigners coming in and all that sort of stuff? And British people.
I'm talking about putting the British first.
And you're quite right. But there is a. It's important to understand that at a time, particularly when British banks have been hammered, we got a terrible fiscal deficit still. Actually, it is a very good thing to have a strong investment from abroad, because that allows schemes to get started that would not otherwise go ahead. And I was talking earlier on about stuff that's happening in the Royal Docks. If you look around London, you're seeing huge sums of money coming in, and that is building, allowing homes to go ahead that will be affordable for London. And look at what we're doing in Elephant and Castle, for instance. Huge number of new homes there. Look at what's happening in the whole Olympic Park area. We are going to build. We've got 33 brownfields opportunity areas around London, Joey, where we're going to build hundreds of thousands of homes in the next 10 years. Okay. That's the way forward. There's no other very easy solution. Rental controls of the kind you describe would actually just stop people getting into the private rented market. I don't think that is the way forward.
We pause there briefly. The Mayor and I will unload the baked beans, the bread and the eggs from our supermarket trolleys. We will be back to you after the news here on LBC 97.3.
Good morning, I'm Lisa Aziz. Boris Johnson has told LBC 97.3 he understands concerns about construction around Euston Station to prepare it to run high-speed trains to the north of England. London's mayor says in an ideal world there's an obvious alternative for an HS2 terminus.
You'd come into Old Oak Common and then you would bomb out along the Marylebone Euston Road. You'd have an underground connection at Euston, and then you'd go straight out to Stratford. And you'd be fulfilling the promise to the north of the country that they could get on a train in Manchester and basically go all the way to France.
The Prime Minister will argue business can create a land of opportunity for all when he closes the Conservative Party conference later this morning. David Cameron's expected to accuse Labour of adopting an agenda which is anti-business and anti-enterprise. A leading headmaster's calling for pupils to be given the chance to rate their teachers on the quality of their lessons. Richard Cairns, headmaster of Brighton College, is calling on the government to make it compulsory for students to play a part in assessing the performance of teachers. Hidden cameras have recorded the birth of London Zoo's first tiger cub for 17 years. 5-year-old Sumatran tiger Melati gave birth to the cub on Sunday evening after a 6-minute labour. At 9:15, the FTSE was down 58 at 64.01. London's travel, the A13, remains closed into town between the Beckton roundabout and the Beckton Alps for investigations after a serious accident earlier. Severe delays now in the area. And London's weather, cloudy and damp with outbreaks of rain, clearing through the morning though to leave a dry and bright day with highs of 18 Celsius. Right now in Hyde Park, it's 13 degrees. LBC 97.3, it's 9:33.
LBC 97.3. This is Ask Boris.
And we're back with Ask Boris with London Mayor Boris Johnson. Now, last time you came on, Mr. Mayor, you chastised me because you said that effectively it was Nick Ferrari asking all the questions. So, with one exception.
Oh, no, you've been it's been amazing. We've had a lot of questions.
Yes, from I'm just going to take a couple of minutes, Mayor. We've got you for about another 10, 11 minutes or so.
Oh, right, okay.
You are uniquely positioned, Mr. Mayor, in that you are both a journalist and you are also a politician, to opine on the row that's taken an even uglier turn today between one of the national newspapers, Daily Mail, and the late father of Ed Miliband, Ralph Miliband. And the assertions by Alistair Campbell last night on Newsnight that in fact it's the Daily Mail and the journalists who are the biggest spin masters of them all. Where do you stand on this? Where do you stand on attacks on politicians' late or indeed still living relatives?
Yeah, I the truth is, I haven't, because I've been concentrating very much on stuff in London and the Tory Party conference. I didn't actually look at the original Daily Mail attack. But what I think is certainly right is that anybody who feels that their relatives have been beaten up in the media has got a perfect right to fire back. That's my feeling.
One of the main planks of the Mail's defence is that it was Ed Miliband's decision to mention his father not once but twice in leaders' speeches and other speeches.
Right.
And he said so much of what he took, as we all respect our dads,
yeah.
but particularly how he respected. Does that not open the door a little bit to the newspaper?
Yes, I mean, the truth is, though, Nick, I cannot very accurately calibrate the justice or wisdom of what they said about Ed Miliband's father. I don't really have enough data to go on. Indeed, I didn't actually read the entire opening salvo. I think
He hinted he quite liked Britain, I'm so sorry, to lose World War II. He was a young man in his late teens when he wrote that. And
that bit I do remember. What he actually said, I think, as a 17-year-old in his diary, was that it was something English or so nationalist that they could do with a kick in the pants or something like that. That was, whether you want to hold someone's teenage scribblings against them ever afterwards, and indeed to impute a lack of patriotism. I don't know. I think
you've got sympathy for Mr. Miliband here.
Well, I tell you what I actually feel, because I've got ancestry that doesn't come from this country, and I think people,
Turkey, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think people do feel very sensitive, particularly if the patriotism of those relatives is impugned. I can imagine that being a very, very hurtful thing, and I would definitely want to fire back if it was me.
Is profit a dirty word?
Of course not. No.
Why do you
with a PH or an F?
With a P, a simple P, a P and an F. The Prime Minister is saying it's not a dirty word, which would seem to imply that some people think it is.
Well, I think that is I think that's a very interesting point. I think the reason David Cameron is having to make that elementary point in his speech today is because the Labour Party is moving so far to the left now and taking on such a strong kind of anti-business rhetoric that you really wonder how on earth they think the welfare state or schools or hospitals or anything else is going to be financed. In the end, we are able to pay for the great services we provide. We're able to finance Transport for London, our hospitals, because of the energy and dynamism of the private sector in this country that get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, get their shops ready, put people into work, export stuff around the world, and they are there to make profits. That is a great thing. It is a noble ambition. The business of business is business, and they're quite right to do it. And I think it's high time, actually, that politicians did stick up for the private sector and the profit motive.
Just a couple from me to go. Why? When did you stop wearing glasses?
When did I? I'm not wearing glasses now.
But you've got some glasses.
I have. Where are they? I can't find them. Hang on, I need to put them there.
Have you been wearing glasses for long?
No, it's. I don't generally. Well, it comes and goes.
Would you put them on?
You want me to? No, I'm going to put one.
Why not?
For
Why
you.
can't I see you with your glasses on? What's the problem?
Well, just because I don't need them right now.
Well, you might need them to study the papers.
I tell you what.
Why are you so vain that you won't wear your glasses?
I can read the papers perfectly well without them.
Why won't you put them on?
It's a point of machismo.
When do you use them?
It's a point of machismo. I use them if I have to.
But what on earth does that mean?
I tell you why I'm not putting them on, because my private secretary Rosha doesn't like these particular ones.
Right,
because they're a bit Elton John. They're a bit Elton John.
Let the whole of London decide. Well, let me. Now we've got to see.
All right, okay, all right. I'll put them on. There you go.
And could you just look at our camera? Would you?
There you go. Damn it. There's something. Rosha doesn't like the frames.
They are a little bit Elton John.
I got them in a bookshop in America. For
me and the Prime Minister. We've all had to start. How much were they?
I can't remember.
They're about $5 over there. They're fantastic.
Not much.
$5.
Amazing. Yeah.
You know,
but you should. I try not to use them. I tell you
what.
Why not?
I try not to get angry with me.
Try not to get angry with me. I'm being emphatic. I try not to use them because my superstition is that if you use them, your eyes get dependent on them.
Okay.
I try to avoid ocular dependency culture.
Okay.
I'm trying to keep my ability to focus.
Last but one, it's now more than a year since Plebgate, whatever did or didn't happen.
Yeah.
How much longer do we have to wait?
I know. Look, this is a source of great frustration to you, to me, to Andrew Mitchell, and his family, and of course to Sir Bernard Hogan-Howe and the Met. I mean, they are, this is something that has been going on for an unconscionably long time. The difficulty seems to be, and obviously this is something about which I have asked the police. It's difficult for them to tell me too much, and they have to be very guarded in what they can say, because that the inquiries are still going on. The trouble seems to be, and I'll give a general answer here, Nick, that new testimony keeps emerging. Now, why on earth this should be,
Isn't there also,
really cannot tell you.
Sadly, the problem that one of the key officers involved is now receiving some form of emotional health care?
There is that too.
That's true.
There is that additional factor, but as I understand it...
So he is having psychiatric care?
I believe that is the case. The delay is being introduced by the new evidence that seems to be coming forward.
And last one from me. It's been revealed that you spend more on your political advisors than the Prime Minister. Why?
Well, it's cobblers. I mean, we saw that's a Daily Mirror load of absolute cobblers. Absolute nonsense.
1.57 million plays 1.45 million.
Well, that's completely... In City Hall, as I hope Londoners know, we have massively reduced cost. We've cut council tax.
So it's not 1.57 million?
Well, whatever they're doing, they're not comparing like with like.
What on earth does that mean?
Well, we have...
Is it 1.57 million a year?
We have hugely reduced the cost of City Hall by about £30 million. We've taken... It depends who you define as my advisors.
6 eggs, but you don't know the cost of however many advisors.
Look, I don't happen to have the figure here with me today, but I can tell you that we've reduced headcount at City Hall massively. We've taken about 4 organisations and put them into one, and as a result, we've been able to cut council tax year after year in real terms, and we're going to go on with a programme to cut it by...
Know how much?
Well, I'm not going to comment on something... That is a figure that has been produced by the Labour Assembly leader, what's his face? Yeah, Len.
What's his face?
Len Duval.
How you speak to a respected politician these days.
He's a great guy. And it's a load of old cobblers, because we've hugely reduced numbers.
It's a load of old cobblers, but you don't know how many, and you don't know how much.
I can get you the figure, but it is unbelievably reduced on the Lorenzo the Magnificent scale of bureaucracy that I found when I came to City Hall. We've had a huge reduction in headcount. We've brought all sorts of organisations together.
Okay.
The HCA, the LBA.
It's not as much as the PM. It's not more than Mr. Cameron.
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Absolutely not.
I'm done.
And we will produce a true comparison for you.
Okay. A couple more questions, Mr. Mayor, if you'd like to go.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's go to Matt in Ashford.
Good morning, Mr. Mayor.
Good morning, Matt.
I'm a very, very concerned Leyton Orient fan and campaign manager of the Stand Up for the Orient Facebook campaign. My question is twofold. Do you seriously believe that gifting the Olympic Stadium to West Ham is a great legacy for sport post-2012? And also, that by spending another, and obviously it's a ballpark figure, £60 million on the stadium reconversion, that this is a fair deal for the taxpayer, and that it's also clear state funding of a private company?
Yeah, well, Matt, I think that one of the difficulties I've got in answering your question is that there's still legal proceedings going on, as far as I know, with Leyton Orient. I don't think that process has been exhausted, and it would just be wrong of me to try to comment in detail on...
Do you know when it might be over, Mr. Mayor?
I think, well, obviously it's very much a matter for Leyton Orient. I think the case has not so far been shown to be meritorious. But,
listen, let's do this deal, Matt. We will keep a note of your name and number. When the Mayor appears next in a few weeks' time, unless I sense, knowing loyals, they'll want to eke it out without being too rude for as long as they possibly can. Yeah. I think this one, as the Mayor said of something else, will run and run. You're back on, Matt. I give you my word, and I'm sure the Mayor, if he's able to talk, will talk to that. Let's finish with a final one, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, Tony in Woodford.
Hello, Boris.
How are you?
Boris, I want to ask you a question, and I really want a straight answer from you.
Come on. Right.
Are you going to run for an MP, and are your aspirations one day to be Prime Minister?
Well,
because I feel you owe it to Londoners to know, what way you're going, what direction you're going.
Never mind,
a lot of people voted for you.
Never mind never
Tony,
mind Ferrari.
what I will say,
Tony in Woodford. Tony
in Woodford, what I will say to you is a lot of people did vote for me, and I'm grateful for that. And I am going to stick around for as long as my mandate runs. I'm going to continue to do everything I've got to do in London. There's a huge amount of... Tony's being called why?
No, Tony's mobile phone.
Boris, please answer the question. Yeah. Are you going to go? Are you going to go to be an MP?
Tony, what I'm telling you is I can't say what is going to happen.
Why not, Boris?
Because
you owe it to Londoners. We voted for you. It'd be nice to know, what's the problem with giving an answer? It's such a lot of speculation.
Yeah. Well, Tony, all I can say is the speculation by the media is...
No, that's not the media, Mr. Mayor. This is a regular guy. This is Tony in Woodford, one of your voters, a regular bloke. Forget Paxman, forget me, forget Marr, forget all of us. This is a regular bloke who's voted for you. And
I know. Well, I'm
very,
grateful.
very fond. He just wants a blind.
Tony, well, I know he does, but all I can say, Tony, to you and to everybody,
your voters,
and to everybody else,
and your voters,
to who.
Boris, why can't you give me a straight answer?
Is that I'm going to continue to serve you as Mayor of London.
That's wonderful, but I'm asking in the future.
Well, what else do you... Well, I don't... The answer is, Tony, I don't
It's such a lot of speculation.
I know, but I can't help that, Tony. I don't...
Yeah, but you must know. You must know what you're going to do, Boris. One day, are you going to become an MP?
Well...
and one day, would you like to become Prime Minister?
Well,
I mean, it's not rocket science.
I would love to play rugby.
So you can't give an answer to myself or the thousands of voters that voted you in. I just think you've got an obligation to let us know. What's wrong with that?
Well, Tony, what I can tell you is that I am going to be your mayor for the next, whatever it is, 700 and something 60 days. I'm going to count it out now. I'll probably get the figure wrong.
But in the future, Boris, are you going to be...
In the future, Tony, the honest truth is I haven't got...
Would you like to become an MP?
Well, I would like to play rugby for England.
Would you like to become an MP?
What?
Would you like to become an MP?
God, this is worse than Jeremy Paxman.
I'm sorry, but I just want an answer. Well, I was talking at work with my friends, and we're thinking, you'd make a great MP and a really good Prime Minister. I thought I'd ring in to find out, and you're not even answering the question, and I just don't understand why you can't say, yes, one day I would like to be an MP, and yes, one day my aspirations are to become, the Prime Minister.
I'll tell you, I understand that, but let me explain that I've got a big job to do, and I've just got to focus on that. And the more I go on about the subject you very kindly raise, the more people will babble on about it. London, as you said in the beginning, that everybody voted. Well, not everybody voted for me. Loads of people voted for me, and loads of people didn't. And I've got to serve everybody, and I've got to do it until the end of my term. And actually, to be fair, the last time I was on, I seem to remember, Tony, the conversation was completely different. It was all about Nick was beating me up for not saying whether I would stand again as mayor. Well, he wasn't beating me up, but he was. That was the question that was being raised last time. Tony, will you forgive me if I just say that I understand why people are interested. I would like to have a career either as a romantic novelist or a tight head prop for England. These things are unlikely to happen.
I understand, Boris, but why can't you just give an answer?
Because the honest truth is, Tony, I don't know. I don't know, and I've got to get on with being Mayor of London.
All right, he needs to get back to that word processor for the books and Twickenham for some training. I think it's Tony 1, Mayor Johnson 0. I'm very grateful. I look forward to the next
Thank you very much.
edition of Ask Boris. This is LBC 97.3. Travel follows this.
I'm Andy McCall in the RBC 97.3 Travel Centre. A13 remains closed coming into town between the Beckton roundabout and the Beckton Alps. So investigation